Okay, good morning, greeting. Um, so I will be moderating the first panel session. So the first panel session is the creative economy now, Asia Pacific perspective. So I will provide some little bit of background of these sessions. So the creative economy has emerged as the central pillar of sustainable development, social inclusion, employment, and tourism in Asia Pacific. So since the first establishment of the World Conference of Creative Economy, WCCE, in 2018, it has been featured in UN Resolution 2020 and 2023, G20 Leaders Declaration in 2020 and 2023, and the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework and Vision 2045. So building on this momentum and the recent publication of ADBI book on the Creative Economy 2030, we will provide a platform for improving knowledge, enhancing regional cooperations, and to fully unlocking the socio-economic benefit of the creative economy in Asia Pacific. So these first panel sessions will provide opportunity to establish the foundation and setting the scene of the overall economy seminars. So our panelists will provide insight and sharing the key drivers and dynamic of the creative economy in the Asia and Pacific. But more importantly, we will also provide some policy guidelines and recommendations for the upcoming WCCE seminar in Tashkent for October this year. So first, I would like to invite the first panelist, Mr. Pratik Kukreja. So Mr. Pratik will discuss on the creative economy agenda in G20 and also the India creative economy and also the creative economy during the G20 presidency India. So you will have about 10-minute intervention and presentation, and then I will keep all the question, feedback and comment after all the panelists presenting. So Pratik, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Akbar. I hope everyone can hear me. And I would like to begin by thanking the organizers for such a wonderful conference and the hospitality, especially Nicholas, ADBI, and Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy for such a great event. I think this is much called for. I won't waste much time. I'll come straight to my presentation. What I'm going to do in the next 10 minutes is basically give an introduction of where we are as far as the creative economy is concerned, the discussion that has been happening so far and where we should be, with a brief discourse on what India's creative economy really looks like. We recently finished our G20 presidency late last year, and what really came out of it, just giving a snapshot of that and where we are heading. As in terms of the national recommendations as far as the creative economy is concerned, and then going to what really is needed at the G20 level, because the recommendations have to be a little different when we talk about the national level and when we go to the G20 level as a group. So that's what I'll do in the next 10 minutes, beginning with what the Prime Minister of India really said on creative economy. So this is creative economy is definitely an area that has been of interest to the Indian leadership, and of course whatever I'll say will be my own views, nothing to, it does not reflect the views of the G20 or it does not reflect the views of the government or the culture working group. It's in my own views. But I'll start with what, to quote Prime Minister Modi during the G20 summit, and he said to addressing the G20 culture working group, saying, "Your efforts towards promoting cultural and creative industries hold profound significance. These will facilitate inclusive economic development and support creativity and innovation." So clearly pointing towards the role that creative industries play towards economic development and innovation. This is how creative industries usually gets defined throughout the world, using the UNESCO definition. It includes all these categories. But the reason why we are all here and why creative economy is really important are basically, when we go to the quantitative aspects, these three are the main reasons why creative economy is really important. It contributes to employment, it contributes to output, it contributes to exports, and thus to the overall growth of any economy. I won't go into the figures, all of us are aware, because these are all taken from the UNESCO report. And we know that world's top 10 exporters, these are the world top 10 exporters, and among the world's top 10 exporters of creative goods, 7 are part of the G20, and that's where the G20 plays such a big role. Furthermore, in G20 nations such as China, France, India, Italy, Turkey, and the UK, creative goods account for over 5% of their total country exports. So what this really shows is that within the G20, the creative economy plays such a big role. So clearly, I mean, the best place to have this discussion is G20, where some of the most powerful nations are there, and if we kind of arrive at a very very solid recommendation at the G20 level on creative economy, which we are going to do in the next few years, I'm sure, because once the presidency of Brazil gets over, we have South Africa. So back to back, starting from Indonesia, India, Brazil and South Africa, developing economies leading the G20. I think we have a very great future for creative economy on the G20 platform. Defining India's creative economy, this is basically a study that we did with ADBI a couple of years back, and this is one of the first study on India's creative economy, where we kind of define what India's creative economy is and try to measure it. So this is the definition. It's available online, and this is a very well cited study that we recently did, and this is how we kind of arrived at the occupations that are important as far as creative economy, India's creative economy is concerned. Very close to what UNESCO really talks about when it talks about the creative economy globally. So these are the occupations. I'm not going to each and every occupations given the paucity of time, but what the main findings were about the employment generation, which was around 8% of India's workforce. Wages were found to be, for creative workers, was found to be 88% higher than non-creative workers, and 6 of the top 10 districts were non-metros. So that's again an interesting finding that we found. In terms of trade balance, India's creative economy still runs a trade deficit of about 14.32 billion. So still there is a gap and a lot of things to be done. Just a kind of snapshot of how creative economy discussion has taken place on the G20 platform, starting at the Saudi Arabian presidency, when culture was put on the G20 agenda for the very first time on the recommendation of Indonesia. And then 2021, during the Italian presidency, first ever culture ministers meeting took place, where the Rome Declaration was adopted. And 2022, under Indonesian presidency, creative economy made its way to the G20 leaders declaration for the very first time. 2023, under India's G20 presidency, creative economy was recognized as a pivotal driver of employment and inclusive growth. And now, when Brazil has the G20 presidency, creative economy continues to be one of the priority areas, which is a good thing. These were the 4 priority areas, and I'm going through the Indian presidency very, very briefly. One of them was the promotion of cultural and creative industries and creative economy, which you see in yellow. And what we really achieved through our presidency were the 2 major achievements. One was the outcome document and chair summary, which was called as the Kashi Culture Pathway, which had very significant mention of creative economy, which I'll be coming to. But besides that, we also had an expert-driven webinar series, which produced a webinar report called The Shaping the Global Narrative for Inclusive Growth. What I'm going to do is very briefly going through the key findings from both of these achievements. The Kashi Culture Pathway, the 4 achievements that we saw were: cooperation and dialogue was something that found to be very, very significant when it comes to creative economy. Data collection enhancement was again an area that found a lot of traction at the G20. Improving status of creative professionals and ratification of conventions. These were the 4 areas that the outcome document on creative economy really, that the outcome document really talked about on creative economy. And then as far as the webinars were concerned, the more the expert driven webinars were concerned, it really talked about, it kind of complemented the recommendations from the outcome document. It talked about the economic contribution, the specificity of the culture and creative industries, the vulnerability due to COVID-19 pandemic, the multifaceted nature that a one-size approach may not fit it, because each country has its own creative economy, has its own issues. Developed countries' issues may not match with the developing countries' issues. So we need to have a very specific approach when we talk about creative economy, a very country-specific approach. And the very important issue of misappropriation, which is not really that much talked about when we talk about creative economy in developed country, but in developing countries, this is an issue which holds prominence, because a robust copyright IP frameworks are needed to protect the cultural and creative professionals from misappropriation. These are the policy recommendation at the national level: increasing recognition of local culture globally, improving access to finance, reforming IP framework. As I said, human capital development is very important to protect the interest of creative professionals, and need for an integrated policy making institution is something that is very, very important when it comes to the regulation of this industry. And at the G20 level, you need an internationally acceptable definition, you need an inter-country network to promote the cultural and creative sectors, you need to provide mobility grants to creative workers, because that is something that you need to kind of help them grow. And digital platform will be very essential for creative workers to increase their reach, to increase their visibility, and integrating culture into the development strategies. I heard someone talking about the linkage of creative economy and the SDGs in the morning. So that is something that is very important. I'll end with that, and I'll love to hear the other speakers on this panel. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Pratik. You highlight the importance of the creative economy agenda in G20. So if you see, the agenda for creative economy always happens in each presidency of the G20. And also you highlight the importance of the creative economy for the output, employment, and export. Thank you for your presentation. And then I will turn to Ibu Dia, Ibu Martini. So Ibu Dia will explain about the Bali Creative Economy Roadmap 2022. So Ibu Dia play instrumental role in building the Bali Creative Economy Roadmap 2022, and also she will explain about the creative economy UN resolutions and the future of the creative economy. So Ibu Dia, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Terima kasih Mas Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. So thank you for inviting us and sharing us the information about WCCE and also the UN resolution. So as we all know, that the WCCE is initiated by the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy. At the time is Bekraf. So we are very blessed to have Pak Triawan Munaf, Pak Riki Pesik, Pak Chandra. If you are here, Pak Chandra. Now he's in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The three of them and the team, they are collaborating with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, initiating the form of the World of Conference of Creative Economy, which is basically, this is the platform that is designed for the stakeholders. What we usually call is the ABCCM platform. Is the pentahelix actors like academicians, and then the business practitioners, think tankers, entrepreneurs, government, including the international organization, as well as the media, to share together and then share information, best practices, and also find what is the challenges and find solution on how to advance the global creative economy. And okay, this is the WCCE, and it is designed that the WCCE is taking place every 2 years, and every 4 years return back to Indonesia. And the next one will be on the Uzbekistan. And beside the WCCC, we also have the platform which is less informal, which is the platform for discussion for the stakeholders in regard to discussing again about what is the evolution, what is the chances, what is opportunity for the creative economy. And WCC is in line with our president's vision to transforming Indonesia as the global creative economy powerhouse by 2030. And it's also important and in line with the vision because Pak Presiden Jokowi put the creative economy as the backbone of our national development. And through WCCE, we want to advance the creative economy as in the global platform by mainstreaming the creative economy in the policymaker processes as well as put in the global conversation. And also we want to enhance the value added of the products and also business and ecosystem of the creative industry and put the roadmaps and strategic plan of the creative economy to put in the global platform. And of course, we cannot work alone, so we have to foster the international collaboration when we're developing the creative industry in the global platform, and that's why we creating the WCCE as the platform for us to have a discussion around the area of the creative economy. And as we've been observing that the WCCE is in line with the trend that we see now, like Pak Singjubaik as well as Pak Dewan Munaf this morning said that when we're talking about the creative industry, when we're talking about the creative economy, we're always talking about the inclusivity. It gives all opportunity, equal opportunity for all stakeholders to boost their capacity and to be present in the ecosystem of the global creative industry. And of course, it's also in line with along with the development of IT, AI, as well as the emerging economy, we see that creative industry, creative economy is the future course of the global economy. So it is always in line with the trend that we see ahead. And multilateralism is also taking part of this because we understand that the creative economy as the catalyst to communicate, to bridge the communication and understanding between culture and nations. So this is very important. That's why we really strong encourage all of us to use this platform as our platform to discuss about the creative industry. And as we all know that the WCCE is already taking place 3 times. The first time is 2018. It is initiated by Pak Trianon Munaf team at the time. With the theme is the inclusive creative. And the second one, which is supposed to be done in 2020 because of the pandemic, it was postponed 1 year. So in the 2021, we have the WCC in Dubai. And the theme is, of course, still inclusive creative, but focus on the 2021, focus on the cultivating the future. It was in Dubai. And the previous one we have in Bali, 2023, is in Indonesia. And the theme is the same, still inclusive creative, but we focusing on the producing the roadmap of Bali roadmap. Is following up the creative economy in 2022. Will be in Uzbekistan this year in October. So as the output of the WCC in Bali, we have what we call is Bali Creative Economy Roadmap 2022, and there are 16 points of roadmap or action plan for us as the commitment for the members to develop the creative economy. But basically there is 5 pillars that's been discussed on the Bali roadmap. First is creative economy inclusion in the mainstream of the policy making for policy general in a global policy making. And secondly is the creative economy support for sustainable development. This is support SDG in UN, and of course is also talking about the capacity building for the creatives, because one of the key pillars is the talent and also human resources. And another pillars that we've been discussing in Bali is about the creative economy and intellectual property. The intellectual property, like Pak Pratik said, this is still quite a challenge for us because we have to nurture the talent, not only creating the ideas, not only producing the creative innovation, but they also have to taking ownership of their ideas. They have to protect what they have been doing, and they can monetize from the IP. So this is intellectual property right is one of the key that we also been discussing in WCCE in Bali. And the last one is cooperation with the creative economy landscape. Of course, this is the key that we came here together, of course, because we cannot work alone, so we have to put hand in hand and synergize our program to put the creative economy in the global platform. And the WCCE inspired us to have the initiation for the UN resolution. There is 2 resolutions in UN that have been discussed and have been stated. The first one is the UN General Assembly launching the year of creative economy in 2021, and that is a huge success for us because we already put in the UN level. And the second one is the resolution on number 78/133, where the UN put the initiation on the resolution on promoting creative economy for sustainable development. This is very important because by putting this one in UN resolution, the UN resolution adapted the discussion of creative economy every 2 years in General Assembly. And thank you to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs because by the support, we have co-sponsored from 59 countries, including countries around the globe, from Asia, Africa, from Europe, Latin America, and of course also from the Caribbean as well. So there are 59 countries supportive of this resolution. And what is the content of this resolution? The content is actually recognizing the importance of creative economy for the global development of the economy, as well as it also recognized the importance of WCCE as the tools to develop the global economy, and of course it's also put the importance of us to synergize for the creative economy. And besides that, what we can get from the resolution? The resolution mandated the organization under UN like UNTAPD, like UNESCO, as well as the ILO, to put more concrete development, series of development when they do the program in the body of the UN, like UNTAPD, UNESCO, as well as ILO, on the creative economy. And it's also mandated that this international organization, they need to comply the program to support the creative economy. And what does this mean for us? By the UN resolution. For us as a country, we can also contribute our creative economy development by working together in lots of areas. For instance, for the synergizing the collaboration through the data, like mentioned by also Pratik, which is very important, is the data integration, capacity building, and also inclusion of many stakeholders, and last but not least is the collaboration. This is very important. Also IP practice is very important. So this is the things that we can get from the UN resolution. That's why we really invite all of us to collaborate in terms of how we can develop the creative economy in the future, because it is that we can see is the backbone of the global economic development. And also, last but not least, we would like to ask all of us to invite you. Let's come together, work together to develop the creative economy, and please come to Uzbekistan for the 4th edition of the World Creative Economy on the 2nd to 4th October in 2024 in Tashkent. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Budia. So Budia say once again the utmost importance of the creative economy agenda as highlighted in the UN resolution and also the WCCE roadmap. And for having inclusivity and also having a good ecosystem in the creative economy industry. So now I will turn to Ibu Tita. So Ibu Tita will discuss the implementation of the creative economy in Indonesia, the dynamic intersection of the creative economy, in particular for Indonesia case. So Ibu Tita, please go ahead.
Thank you, Pak Rizal. Pak Akbar. Rizal atau Pak Akbar? All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and would like to share with you a bit of my thought. So here, I usually use these credentials to put a context where I'm from, because I'm mostly talking about creative economy from the background of as an academician, a researcher, but also I do a lot of creative economy implementation at the community level. And as we know it, as we have the sense of creative economy, it has been happening since long ago, but when it's put into governmental structure and when it starts to be included in policies and all, that's where we try to find our consensus. So what is creative economy for us? And the Bali Agenda, as we know it, Budia has presented the list, but we here put it into this graph just to show how you can spread the ideas according to the priorities. So as you can see, the x-axis, you go from the current state to the future landscape, and the y-axis is you have the conceptual ideas about how to implement those to the concrete action. So in these 4 quadrants, actually this roadmap provides a kind of options or range of each country's context. So you can choose which is more important for your country or your place or your cities, or which has become the priorities according to your development, to your potentials and so on. So these words are just teasers. So usually we then let people choose or decide what is best for them. And for Indonesia, this is what we offer. So if it has to do with conceptual ideas at the current state, there's an issue of the 6th helix about intermediary in creative economy, because we have lots of informal sector within the creative economy ecosystem. So we also have an issue of inclusivity and in the current state, but for concrete action, we have the upskilling and reskilling of actors and so on and so on. So this also needs kind of leadership and thought leadership by anyone who's leading the creative economy sector to decide what is important for Indonesia, or what is important, or what is the most potential for us. So by saying this, I will then give examples of what we have done or what we have thought about these kind of quadrants. So in the first quadrant, about the current state, future landscape, and then the current state, we as Creative Economy Council, forming of different nationalities, we did a research on informalities, but within the context of creative economy. It's done in 10 countries, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and so on. And we have published these findings that informal economy actually needs intermediary, and in many sense. So we also try to draw a map of how intermediaries can work better by supporting policies, but also they need people with skill of advocacy to the informal sectors. And this is the second quadrant. And this is actually one of the G20 policy recommendations that we put forward, especially the role of youth. And they still have this characteristic, high order cognitive skills, and they're really technologically savvy. They can absorb new technologies faster, and they see themselves as their function, no longer their position in our organization, but they see what they can do for their communities. And for this person, the blue person, to come to the SDG, they have to do a lot of challenge and disruptions, but as long as they are supported by the right policy and technology appropriately implemented, then they would be able to reach this job opportunity and so on inclusively. And still in the second quadrant, what I put here is institutional enactment. So again, we cannot work alone. So government always needs support from in this case is academic institution who always have the academic discourses. We have this called Icon Arcade every 2 years at our campus to discuss creative economy, but also in a wider sense for the creative economy actors and practitioners. And then we also managed to have a community-driven policy So we passed the Creative Economy Bill for Bandung City, and this bill was pushed by communities, but then supported by the government as well. And that's to actually to guarantee whoever is the leader will always implement creative economy, and that apparently works. And what didn't work is only if the person is not, if we have not the right person in the right place. And we also do this yearly in Bandung. We have design thinking workshop for government. So usually every time government always present like, we'll do this in the next 5 years, and they got opinions from audience, but then the audience never know where the opinions are taken. So in this design thinking workshop, we always we always build prototypes about the solution for the urban scale. And in 2017, this was acknowledged as one of the best implementation of SDG number 11. And the theme is every year change according to what is urgent in Bandung. And this is quadrant number 3, and here is a model of IP-based creative economy in content industries. So we have this example in Singhasari Special Economic Zone for content industry, which includes game, animation, movie, and so on. And as we know it, creative industry sector don't stand alone, so they also need support from IP people, programmers, and so on and so on. So they don't only gather studios, but they also build vocational schools. They also have off-takers that will surely get their products. The challenge here is if we use conventional banking system, it's still hard to get the loan. So they still also have a conventional way of doing stuff, but we hope that in the future, IP-based creative industry can also work. And this is for the last quadrant. So we have this attempt to have a kind of indicator of saying, if you implement creative economy at the local level, with this case city, Indonesia Creative Cities Network have built 10 principles of a creative city, and all our city members have the commitment to implement this, and this is also overlaying with SDGs. So we make a book, or we try to adjust the government's KPI to these 10 principles. So we make a model of how indexing can be done. If the government implement these 10 principles, then surely your city or your agency can be developed more systematically. And this has been implemented in the province of West Java, because if we do it at the national level, it will be too complicated because of the data. But in West Java, we have built this since 2020. So we make a yearly report, and this is the 10 variables that we build, that we use. And so we can see every year which city or agency is thicker in color, which means other cities can also work together with them if they want to implement certain development on certain creative industry sector. This is also, this has to do with culture-based innovation, future discoveries, because whether you want it or not, you have to work with campus or research centers if you want to have new materials, new production, new process, and whatever else. And this happened to be in West Java. So a lot of these companies and communities, they work with waste material, with food issues, food security, fashion, ethics, and so on and so on. So these are just a few examples of many that we have. But again, the challenge is if you come up only with this small scale, and if you want to upscale it, then there's always a challenge of investors and a bigger ecosystem that needs to be handled. This again, similar things, new discoveries, materials. We have lots of materials as Indonesian and mostly region in Asia. We are so rich of biodiversity, and if campuses or students or communities, they're trying to build materials from existing materials to new products with new value, then they always need a huge acceleration if you want to put it out in the market. And that's really our challenge now. So without the help from policy and from investors, that doesn't happen easily. And also the newer technology like the immersive experience that is done outdoor and so on, that becomes a post-pandemic destination. So, so what's next is I have only a couple of things more. So as Indonesia Creative Cities Network is spread in 260 something cities in 37 provinces in Indonesia. We work together with the Ministry of Education and Culture. We have this program for each city to decide what kind of events or program they can do to implement the creative economy based on culture. And then we produce book, an exhibition and so on, which they then can continue within their own government, local government. And these are the publications, books, concepts, ideas that we have contributed at the global level. As you can see, there are some G20, there's ADBI publications and so on. And the recent conversation has to do with culture as well, because of the newer development at the global level about culture. So with this kind of contribution, we also kind of check or test if what we're doing is at the right direction, or if we can have a contribution to the bigger scale. And this is the last one. So this is a kind of conclusion of what to do next. So if you want to have the next WCCE, what we can discuss is, because we have this Friends of Creative Economy, so what do we do? Because FCE is really loose, it's really informal, but actually it can be made stronger and it can be made more influential. So we need a strong leadership with a comprehension towards creative economy cross-platform intersection and issues. And this is the UN resolution when we went to New York to have a high-level briefing about the resolution. We need thought leadership on the determination of creative economy and its indicators from the perspective of the Global South. And again, because like Pratik said as well, we all have different contexts, and if we can have thought leadership about what it's going to be, then we can make our own measurement. And then the last one, that's actually a UNESCO screenshot of a UNESCO report on Creative Cities Network. So we need a kind of legitimate consensus on the different terms that refer to the same subjects and purposes at the national level. And here I'm talking about Creative City. So there's Indonesia Creative Cities Network, but there's also Kata Creative at the ministry, and there's also UNESCO Creative Cities in Indonesia and so on. They're actually working on the same purpose. They have all the nice intention, but then if you are overlapping your what you want to say, then it's not very productive. I think that's for me so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibu Tita. Okay, thank you, Ibu Tita, for providing the comprehensive explanation about the Bali Agenda, from the concept note to the the actionable policy actions, and also you also provide some recommendation conclusion on having the strong leadership on the Global South. So now we are turned to the Q&A and panelist discussion, but I will invite from the audience if you have question, feedback, because one of the main objective of this session is we want to provide the policy guideline for the next WCCE conference in Tashkent. So before I throw my question to the panelists, I would like to invite from the audience, if you have any question, comment, or feedback to the panelists, feel free to ask. So anyone? Question from the floor? No? So, okay. So I can ask the panelists first, and then if you have a question later on, you can ask as well. So I think my first question maybe to Ibu Tita first. So because since we had the WCC in 2018, right, it's already 6 years, but in between we have the COVID-19 crisis, geopolitical crisis, economic crisis, and then, but we need to renew our attention to the creative economy agenda, right? Looking ahead to the Uzbekistan's WCCE conference in October, can you tell us what are the key lessons learned from the few years back, and what are the main challenges going forward? Thank you.
Thank you. People can then agree with me or maybe disagree, but this is according to me personally, because since 2018, we have huge disruption at global level. So not only pandemic, but also geopolitical and so on and so on. But during those times, we learned that, especially during the pandemic, people then getting to be aware about their choices in life, like what is really important, what is life, so it's really like deep philosophical questions, but then it goes to the practical daily life that really influence your choice, like how do I get around, what do I eat, and so on and so on. In that sense, it was apparent that creative economy provides those needs by, for example, moving to digital platform for everything, and digital platform need people behind it to provide the interaction, the service, the anything that you see on screen. That needs creative economy, creative industries. And to put it, to deliver the access, you need technology, you need anything that can support that activity. So in a way, creative economy really has to choose the priorities that is actually better for human being. And also during the pandemic, because we are suddenly restricted, we cannot meet people, we cannot go to concerts, see movies, and so on. So people start to see the value of culture, because it seems like, okay, culture is there, we live with it every day, but once you are taken culture from you, then you feel the need of culture to be surfaced again. And then you start to realize that it is also important, and we are a country of really diverse culture that which represent our richness in their potentials, and we should also really work more on that. So how do you translate culture into policy that really implement, that really have an impact on the more people? So reflecting on those, of course, then we have to choose the priorities, and then as I mentioned in the last slide, that for the next WCCE, that's why it's called shifted reality, because our reality is maybe not the same as before. Now that we are filled with those kind of disruptions and choices, so I would say it's a challenge, but it's an interesting challenge, because now we are at the turn point when we can decide what we want to measure, what we want to provide, and what we want to choose inclusively, and then involving as much stakeholders as possible. I hope that answers.
Thank you, Tita. Maybe Pratik or Ibu Dia want to add about this question? Yeah, because it's a question for everyone actually.
Hello. No, I think I completely concur with what Tita said, and I think any discussion on creative economy will be dynamic in nature. You cannot. One thing is that, as I had highlighted in my presentation also, that there cannot be a one-size-fit-all approach. That's one thing. The other thing is it cannot be static in nature. What we are discussing right now at this moment may not hold true tomorrow or next year, or even in the next G20 summit or the WCCE. It has to keep evolving. So we need to continue having such kind of discussions. We need to continue having such kind of partnerships, such networks, and such conferences to kind of keep evolving ideas from different parts of the world, so that we do not get restricted to one particular definition of creative economy, and we do not get restricted to a definition that get established at one point of time. So that's something that I think one needs to keep in mind if one has to discuss creative economy, or kind of put creative economy in the policy perspective.
Thank you, Pratik. Ibu Dia? Dia?
Okay, to add up information from Pak Pratik, also Bu Tita. Initially, we don't have any common understanding about what is the creative economy is, and this is quite a challenge. And by this kind of forum from WCCE as well as the Friends of Creative Economy, we can have a collective understanding on what is creative economy, which is for me it's very important. So we can collaborate each other. We can understand too the data integration when talking about the same thing. We can have the same index, so we can compare how and what the position is. And also one of the challenges beside the understanding of the common definition of the the creative economy is also the collaboration. The collaboration is very important. Sometimes when one of the country, they don't know how to start, we can use this kind of platform to share best practices, which is actually there's no best practices, but sharing the ideas about the success story. We can learn from each other, and somehow we can put the creative economy on our policy making process and put it as the agenda in the national level.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Dian. So, from audience, any question from audience? No. Okay. Okay, please go ahead, and please identify yourself, and then to which panel is your question.
My name is Ahmedou. I am from the Mauritanian embassy in Jakarta. I thank you for the invitation. I thank you for this panel. I have a question concerning this creative economy. Is there a difference between manual creative economy and industrial creative economy? This is my first question. And my second is, what is the influence of big factories in the world on the creative economy? Does there any influence of the big factories of the world on the creative economy? This is the second question. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, I will take another question and then we can respond. Okay, the next question, please.
Hamdan from Think City, Malaysia. Probably just related to the earlier question. I think it's also a case that creative economy is a subset of the larger economy itself, and obviously challenge lies in the sense that how do we demarcate the larger economy, I don't want to call it real economy, the larger economy, the economic system that we exist, versus the specific area. Because a company, say example in the case of the industrial sector, has got R&D, has got product design, but at the same time it is in the production. How do you actually deal with the issue of measuring this and data capture? From what I observed from the presentation is that there seems to be probably the case that there's underreporting based on the UNESCO definition of creative sector in terms of the scale of the creative economy today and the number of people being employed. So maybe I just wanted to say this is an observation as well as any comments would be useful.
Okay, and the next question from the gentleman at the back, please.
Oh, well, thank you. My name is Gede from the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology. My question will be what goes to Pratik. As we know that the G20 itself is actually a non-binding organization, which means all the policy, all the recommendations that is made or resulted from the meetings are, well, countries have not obliged to follow. But how do you make sure that all these policies will be implemented by the countries, and more importantly, will be the people of the countries will be impacted by the result of the meetings? Thank you.
Okay. So the first question from the gentleman from the front. So if I understand correctly, the key difference between the first question? Okay. Bu Tita, you would like to respond? Or Ibu Dia?
I hope I respond to the correctly. If I'm not mistaken, hearing the questions. Well, my context is implementing creative economy at the city level, because at the higher level, it's more complicated due to the data and all. But what we do is we see creative economy as an ecosystem. So it's not only the part where you have the transaction, economic transaction of products or services, but it's the whole ecosystem, starting from the human being, education, association of profession and so on, to the R&D and so on. And we always refer to the highest law in Indonesia, which is of course, the Undang-Undang, the law for creative economy, that states three things actually. So if you want to define creative economy or not, then it should have added value, it should have IP potentials, and it should be based on culture and science and technology. So then is where you can draw the line if it is a creative economy or not. And if you refer to scale, for example, yes, of course, we have big industries for multinational brands of fashion industries or clothing or whatever. They are creative economy, but then how much of the creativity or human intervention goes to the product itself? How much of the bigger manufacturing, repeating robotic action that you do within the production itself, and so on. So how much the human value is there as well. Because we have done a lot of interventions, especially Bandung is a city for production of fashion brands and all. So if we see that the factory is actually harmful for the environment and for the social cohesion of the people there, then it's not the right thing to do. So it needs a bigger intervention from the government at the policy level and also law enforcement. But we also see creative economy as an inclusive activity, because it's where underprivileged people can get jobs or income, and also women and children, young youth can also express what they need. So within the city level, that's what we measure within the 27 cities and regencies in West Java every year, is not only the transaction of the values of the transaction of money itself, but also access, education, and so on and so on. I hope that answers so far. Thank you.
Pratik, can you quickly respond the last question?
Yeah. No, that's a very interesting question on G20 not being a binding institution. That's true, and that is, I think, one reason that many of the recommendations somewhere get lost, and that's not just creative economy. That's for any working group, so to speak. But that's the nature of the entire G20 forum, that there is a rotating presidency, that, Indonesia, then India, then Brazil, then South Africa. But you see, what you can really do in that is that two things. Firstly, the involvement of greater stakeholders. If there is a greater involvement of stakeholders, you actually get to understand the main issues that are associated with it. There will be a loss of agenda at some level, because G20 is a unique forum where you have developed countries and developing countries on the same footing. So you cannot expect to have the same issues discussed every time. But that's where I see that this particular moment as a very interesting moment, where you have 4 presidencies back to back, starting from Indonesia to South Africa, and this is where you can have a continuity of agenda. But what you really need for that is an expert. Apart from a bureaucratic group, you also need an expert-driven agenda within the creative economy, like India did. There was a discussion at the G20 level, but parallelly, there was a discussion at the expert group level also. We had expert-driven webinars also, where you get an unbiased view, and that a view that is continuous in nature. One thing that one can do to kind of increase the accountability is that you kind of revisit at least some of the recommendations that are kind of agreed on by one presidency, and then you continue it to the next level. And for that, you need to have continuous meetings, continuous collaborations between the troika. And that is very important. The previous presidency, the current presidency, and the future presidency. So if you have a strong troika, that is where the continuity of a particular agenda would really be maintained. And as far as the binding thing is concerned, I think ratification of conventions is something that one can really push for in each G20 presidency, and increasing that ratification could to some extent bring bring that binding aspect. But otherwise, I think that's the nature of the G20 platform. And I think to summarize, as I said, the Troika holds a really important role when it comes to continuity of agenda.
Thank you, Pratik. And for the second question, the creative economy is the subset of the larger economy, and it seems there are under-reporting of the scale of the creative economy and also the employment. Anyone to respond, because we take this information from the UN report. So, Kita, Pratik, or Ibu Dia, you want to respond? Why is like under-reporting in terms of number and figures?
Okay.
Yes.
Measuring the creative economy is quite a challenge for us because we have different set of understanding, we have different set of measure, and we wish by the adoption of the UN resolution, which is mandated the international organization like UNCTAD, UNESCO, ILO, they will guide us for the similar understanding and measurement. So we do hope that we can contribute as well as each of the country to participate in the survey that they have, so we can have better measurement and we know what we are positioned in the current position and what position that we want to tap. So we do really hope that by the UN resolution, this international organization also can guide us on this kind of measurement. Thank you.
Ibu Dia, because we are running out of time, but I would like to give opportunity to each panelist to give a 30 seconds closing statement, because once again, one of the main objective of the session is to provide recommendation for the WCCE in Uzbekistan. So starting from Pratik for 30 seconds closing statement.
What I would want to say is that if we want the creative economy to really grow, I talked about the continuity of agenda, but we need to have some kind of a continuity within the developing countries within the G20 and the developed countries within the G20, because the agendas of the two groups are completely different. When we talk about the developing country, one major aspect, we need to go beyond the definitional and the measurement aspect. That is an issue that will remain till the time you talk about creative economy. One issue that you really need to focus on is the status of creative professionals. Whether you talk about misappropriation, skills, capacity building, formalization, these are the issues that need focus at the moment for the global south or for the emerging economies like Indonesia, India, Brazil, South Africa, Mexico. It'll go to US, it'll go to UK, the agenda will again change. They'll talk about definition, measurement. Of course, these are issues that are important, but these are issues that need to be solved internally. At the G20 level, you cannot come out with recommendations where you can address these issues. So that's something that I would want to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Ibu Tita.
Firstly, we should find measurement beyond economic number.
Okay. For us, like always Pak Sandi always asks us, if we want to advance the creative economy at a global level, there is 3 strategy at least. Is we have to adapt with the keep changing dynamic situation, and we have to stay innovative to respond to this dynamic condition, and last but not least is collaboration. So adaptation, innovation, and collaboration.
Okay, thank you once again to all the panelists and for all audience for your active participation. So allow me to conclude the session, and please give a big round of applause once again to all the panelists. Thank you.